Hello, this is Sarah or Water Lily 716, and today I wanted to talk about curly hair care, specifically about curly hair care when you're changing from the summer months to the winter months or vice versa. Because I know over in the US we are starting to change seasons in some areas, not in my area, it's kind of wavering back and forth. And over in the other hemisphere, people are changing from winter into summer now, I think. So, yes. And this, I think a couple people have requested this, and it's a great video idea. So, thank you. And yeah, it's just a really good video idea because I think there's a lot of good information to know. And I'm going to principally talk about dew points with this because I think that's the most important thing. Because, yes, temperature is important, but humidity is more important, and it's the most important factor that changes over the seasons, I think. So I have a couple notes, and I did a little bit of research about this because I know the background information, but I usually have to refresh myself because it's kind of sciencey, and I'm not really a sciencey person. So I did my little research, and I'll have some good articles to check out in the description below. But let's go ahead and get started. If we're talking about the summertime, which I think is where I'm currently in, then you're going to have higher humidity. And what's the best measure of humidity if you're going to look at your weather report is actually the dew point, which you want to check. And the dew point is the temperature at which water will condense and form dew, and it's just a really stable measure that will reflect how much water is in the air. So just remember to check dew point. It's always on the weather reports. You might have to scroll down a little bit to find it. And I'm going to find out what the current dew point is. You can go to wonderground.com, which is the best weather website. Go to current data, and the dew point is at 65 today. Anything from 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius and up is really humid. So you're going to get big hair with this. And you probably want something to help control your hair, so you might want a hard hold product. And you may skip your leave-in if you feel like you need even more hold, but I personally wear a leave-in year-round in my hair, a leave-in conditioner. And something important to talk about, and I think someone phrased the winter versus summer hair care question in this way, are called humectants. And humectants are ingredients like honey, glycerin, and panthenol in hair products, and they are very important when the temperatures are changing. I know a lot of gels, the very first ingredient will be glycerin, and this can vary based on the dew point, but sometimes you may not want to use them, and sometimes you may want to use them. But not everyone is glycerin sensitive, so for some people this isn't as big of a problem. But anyways, those humectants, those products, the ingredients, are kind of iffy in this range. So that's like the heat of summer and stuff. And if you're in North Carolina, it's still not humid outside. And then if we're between 40 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit dew point, we're still talking about dew point, not temperature, or 4 to 16 degrees Celsius centigrade. This is great curl range. This is the best. And you're gonna hopefully get your best curls at this time. You can use humectants, and you just need to keep your hair pretty moisturized. This is usually the easiest dew point to operate in. Then if we go to the 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit or -1 to 4 degrees Celsius, this is kind of the strange in-between humidity weather range. I think of this as like fall, or most likely spring, when the seasons are changing and you don't really know what's up. So this is another iffy area. Some people like to use humectants, some people do not. It's trial and error. Okay, the next range is we're getting into winter hair care. And You're going to have the dew point at 15 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit or -9 to -1 degrees Celsius. And here the humectants are bad, and this is a definite humidity range where you don't want to use a lot of humectants, a lot of glycerin, panthenol, or honey. You do, however, want to use emollients, which are moisturizers. Okay, so I thought I would explain what emollients are, and they are moisturizing ingredients in products. And they soften hair and give it shine. And these are like vegetable oils and butters and those sorts of things. Whereas humectants, on the other hand, absorb water and hold moisture into the hair. But this is going to have a bad effect in the low temperatures because, as I understand it, traps the moisture in your hair, but the air is really dry, so the two things try to balance, and you just end up with frizzy hair a lot of the time. So yeah, in the winter you generally want to not use a lot of humectants, but use a lot of emollients, use a lot of moisture. I tend to up my level of the amount of leave-in conditioner that I'm using, and I can also start to use less hold gels. I pretty much finished talking about dew points. I will put a little summary of the dew points because I know it's kind of confusing in the description, but now I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite products for the different seasons. And specifically winter. I also have a video on specific issues for summer hair care, like chlorine, salt, and the sun, and I would go ahead and I will hopefully link that, and you guys can check it out. But anyways, right now, since it's very dewy outside, I'm using my trusty LA Looks Sport Gel, which is a hard hold gel. In the summer and the humid times, I use this year-round, but I usually, this is Curly Hair Solutions Curl Keeper. I usually use a lot of this when it's humid outside. This is a leave-in that I tend to use year-round. I do switch up my leave-in sometime. This is the infamous Kinky Curly Knot today. But I use less in the summer and more in the winter. For me, I can often get away with using the same products between the summer and the winter. It depends on the person, but yeah, I can usually get away with that, but I change the amounts. And I can get away with a little bit less gel in the winter, or I might use a softer hold gel. Some examples of gels that were working really well for me in low dew points but don't work for me at this point in time are the Garnier Fructose Pure Clean Gel and the B5 Design Gel. These were working amazingly for me, and I tried to use this in the summer, and then I just had really frizzy hair. What's important is whether the ingredient is at the top of the list, because if it's at the top of the list, it'll probably bother your hair more. This has glycerin in it, but it's towards the bottom of the list. This one has glycerin right up towards the top of the list, which probably, I think I started using it in the spring, so it was working on that in-between range. Didn't have quite enough hold for the summer, but it was working well on the in-between range. And this one also has a humectant in it. So I was also using this in the spring, I think. So the in-between range, when humectants work for some people and don't for others, is when these were probably working. I don't tend to have glycerin sensitive hair though, so sometimes I think I get away with using products that have a lot of humectants in them in the winter. But yeah, this is kind of like the established doctrine about hair care throughout the season. I've also heard that you use thicker products, maybe creamier products in the winter versus thinner products in the summer. It's up to you. And generally people talk about using creamy moisturizers and needing to moisturize a lot in the winter, which is true because the air is dry, it dries out our hair. We also sit inside and get a lot of artificial heating thrown on our hair. Maybe we're blow drying our hair more so that we don't have to go outside and like have wet hair. So people talk about needing to deep condition. I think you should deep condition year round as well. And one of my favorite brands that makes deep conditioners are the Curl Junkie ones. This is Curl Junkie Deep Fish. My personal favorite is the Curl Rehab one, but this one is good too. And yeah, I will use this throughout the summer or the winter. I'd say I probably need to deep condition a little bit more in the winter, but it depends on what I'm doing in the summer, because in the summer there are things that can dry out your hair too, like salt from the ocean, chlorine, and the sun, so you might need to deep condition in the summer as well. But yeah, the only thing to be careful about in the winter is to make sure that you don't over moisturize, over condition your hair, because if your hair is very light and not porous, so it doesn't suck up stuff, then you can easily over condition your hair. It's easily gotten rid of with just a quick sulfate free shampoo, but you can put too much moisture in your hair and then your hair just kind of goes blah. I want to make a different video about that, but that's the thing that you can do if you're like deep conditioning every week and then your hair starts to be really weird. That could be it. Conditioner is pretty much my favorite year-round conditioner. Is the generic Value Products Matrix Biolage Conditioning Balm. Conditioner are the Abby Organics Honeysuckle Rose. That's a really good moisturizing one too. Those may be too much moisture for some people, but check out, I just recently updated my favorite conditioners videos, so you guys can go check that out. I hope this video was clear. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below in the comments, and I'll leave resources below for you guys to check out and read on your own, because you can really discover a lot. Just on the internet, there's some really good explanations. And yeah, I think that is it. Basically, I'm going to be more cut and dry when you have low dew points, which is what we're heading into. Moisture a lot, you can use light hold products. You want to avoid the humectants, use lots of emollients. The in-between range is kind of toss up. Everyone kind of does different things. You can kind of get away with humectants, and you can just probably start using hard hold products. I don't know. In the high humidity range, which is what we're coming out of in the summer, you want to use hard hold products, and you can use those humectants, but you can also use emollients because you need to keep your hair moisturized at all times of the year. So for me, change is I might change up a couple products, especially if my hair isn't liking the ones I'm using with the current weather, but it's more about amounts for me. If that makes sense. I tend to use a lot of the same products. But yeah, I hope this is helpful for you guys. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.